Another thing that's happened in my life is the way fish is sold from the boats. Right up till about 1980, there was an auction at Hastings. Now, that was run by the Adams family, and the fish would have been boxed and graded at sea in those days. There were only a couple or three grades of fish in those days. Placed, for instance, there were 3 sizes. These fish were gutted and graded at sea. The same would happen with Dover soles, lemon soles, whatever, and boxed up at sea. Then, when landed, they were pushed up to the fish market on a cart, and there were 2 concrete slabs. Each boat would pile up their fish on these concrete slabs, one behind the other. Joe Adams would sit in the middle of these concrete slabs, and he had 2 sets of scales, one in front of each concrete slab. On the scales was a scale man, on both sets of scales, on one each. And then each boat was sold individually. For instance, the boy ashore then, which is the guy, the ship's husband, the man that looks after the boat when it's ashore, it was his job to put the fish into the scale. They would sell the whole boat's catch of plaice. So in would go possibly the small plaice, and then it would be auctioned, and it was a Dutch auction. And for anyone that doesn't know what that is, a Dutch auction is when you start at a high price and come down. And Joe, in those days, would start with the small plaice at £2 a stone. Fish was sold by the stone. A stone of fish is £14, about 6.3 kilos. Now, each stone of fish would be auctioned. For instance, he would start at £2 a stone, £2, £1.90, £1.80, £1.70, £1.60, £1.50. He'd get down to about £1.50, then he may go in 5 pence, £1.45, £1.40, £1.35, £1.30. As soon as you shouted, then the first one to shout, and Joe was pretty good at picking these people out. Even if 4 people shouted at once, he knew which one was first. And then you could literally buy the whole catch. You could buy 10 kilos. You could buy what you like. But it was your choice. Once you shouted, you could actually buy the whole catch of that species. Then after the plaice was sold, the Dover soles would go in, and the lemon soles, and maybe the odd turbot or whiting, until that boat was finished being sold, and then they would move on to the next boat. But Joe done 2 boats at a time, one each side. It was unbelievable to watch him. His eyes was everywhere, and he was a very, very good auctioneer, because it was his job to get as much money for the fish as he could. And he knew, before he even started the auction, he knew who wanted what. He knew, for instance, what fish I wanted. He knew what all the other buyers wanted, and he knew pretty well the price we were going to pay. Now, bear in mind, when the weather was bad and fish was short or scarce, then it would fetch a lot more money, because there were still these, in those days, there may have been 25 buyers in a half ring round the scales. They all wanted fish. If fish was plentiful, then we could all relax, because we knew we was going to get it cheaper. The first boats to sell always fetched the most money, because they were wanted by people like myself and other fish shops that had to get away and get their business opened. After the bulk of the fishmongers had gone, then the fish ended up going to wholesalers, who probably bought it for quite a bit less money. But bear in mind, these guys have got to work on it. They've got to fillet it. They've got to pack it in boxes. It all costs money. And that may then be sent all over the place, possibly to London, down the West Country, wherever. I don't think there's too much now that's not sold. Even things like squid, when I was a kid, they were no good. They were just thrown away. Now it's quite expensive fish. Squid is because people have gone abroad to Spain or Greece and ate it, which is called calamari over there, and come back, and obviously they want to eat it here. Red mullet. I can't ever remember seeing red mullet put on the market, because nobody would have bought them. There's quite a few things that's landed today that, when I was young, wouldn't have been any use landing them at all. So things do change, over the years things have changed.